I grew an Instagram account from 0 to 20,000 followers and made $0 from it. Here is why and all the mistakes that I made. And if you are a business owner or an entrepreneur and you want to make more sales from your content, then this video is going to save you time and effort when it comes to doing that. So the first thing that I learned is that views do not equal sales. And unfortunately for me, the way that I learned this was by spending all of my time creating content that was really, really good at getting me views, but none of those views led to any sales. And what was hard about this is that I spent a lot of time creating this content and refining the systems and the processes on how to create this content. And ultimately, it didn't lead to me getting any sales. So the focus of this content was on the visual aspects and the entertainment aspects of the content. So things like the video quality, the editing, the lighting, the sound effects, all of those visual aspects of the video of just how it looks. But the switch that actually helped me generate sales from my content was creating content that built trust with the audience. And when I say build trust, all I mean is just providing information to the audience that they could go and implement for themselves and actually get a result from that information. So when I talk about building trust, I mean actually building trust to the point where I tell people, hey, if you do these 3 steps, this is the result you will get. That's the type of content I would make. And when I made that content and people went and implemented that information, they could come back to me and tell me, oh, yeah, you're right. Like I went and I did those 3 steps and then I got the result that you talked about. That is how people are building trust and actually building belief in the things that you're saying. And the crazy part about this is that you can build this trust all through your content. And if you are a business owner, I'm sure at some point you have heard the saying that people buy from people. And not only that, but people buy from people that they know, that they like, and that they trust. And by you knowing this information, you can then create content that builds all of those 3 things. You can build content that gets people to know you, it gets people to like you, and then it gets people to trust you. And like I mentioned, the way you can do this is by providing value to your audience. So you're giving them information, you're giving them education from your standpoint as an expert, as a professional at what it is that you do, and you're giving that information to the general public or to your ideal clients that would be able to benefit from that information. And the issue with this that people run into, and I've seen this happen with some clients that I work with and with other people on social media, is that they're afraid to give out this information. So in their mind, and I can understand why people would think this, in their mind, they're thinking, if I give this information for free, when I could be charging for it, why would anybody want to pay me in the long run? And that way of thinking is what kept me stuck for the longest time, because I would tell myself, man, I can't just give this information away for free, because if I start posting about this, people will just go and implement that information and they'll get the results and they won't need me. But what is so funny about this is that once you make the shift and start creating that sort of value in your content and just giving all the information away, what you'll find is that yes, a percentage of people will actually take action and implement that information and get the result on their own. And you have the benefit of them building trust with you. So they believe in the things that you're saying because they implemented that information and they got the result. But what also happens is that other percentage of people who didn't take action and implement it on their own, that is the majority of people. Majority of people are not going to take the information that you give them and go implement it on their own. But what you do when you create that value and create that trust building content is now you show to people and you make them aware of what is required to get the end result that they are seeking. And this is assuming that you're creating the right type of trust building content that is very relevant to the ideal client that you're trying to market to. And once you're creating this content consistently enough, you'll find that those people who watch the content and they understand, okay, this is what goes into getting the result that they want, but they aren't willing to do it, those people will reach out to you and ask for your help for you to do it for them, right? And that is when you're able to get sales and get clients from your content. So as backwards as it sounds, like I mentioned, once you start giving that information away and just showing people exactly what goes into getting the result that they want, they can make a decision. They can decide, yes, I'm going to take this information. Thank you so much. I'm going to go do it on my own and get the result myself. And keep in mind, like I mentioned, this is the 1% of people that will actually take the information, will actually implement it, and actually go and get the end result. But the other 99% of people will look at that and they will say, wow, that seems like a lot of work. It seems like a lot of effort, and it seems like a lot of time that I don't have on my hands right now. But I'm wondering if I could just pay that person, because they obviously know how to get the result. They know how to do it. And I don't have the time, but I do have some resources in terms of money. So if I could just pay that person some money, maybe they could do that for me and solve my problem for me. And just by you creating that content and you starting that feedback loop, you're actually showing people that you are capable of solving their problems. You're building trust with them and you're building belief from the words that you're saying. And now they're able to trust you enough to pay you money to solve that problem for them. So this was a huge mindset shift for me. And I can understand why it seems so hard to make that shift. Because again, in our minds, we're thinking, if we just give all this information away for free, why would anybody have a reason to pay us? Or why would anybody have a reason to even ask us for help? Because they already have all the information on their own. But what you'll find is that there are so many people out there who are consuming content and watching the content and who have these problems that your business solves. And keep in mind, all you need to do is get a percentage of those people and you have a flourishing business. So you don't have to capture the whole entire marketplace in order to grow a big business. All you have to do is just get your piece of the pie. And a great way to do that, like I mentioned, is with the trust building content. So this was a huge breakthrough for me. I know I've said this already, but I just really want to hit on that point of how important it is to just start creating content that builds trust. And I'm not saying just go dump all of the knowledge and insights and step-by-step information on your process and just go post content about that. All I'm saying is just to add value and make sure that your content is actually building trust with your audience. And this can happen on many different levels. So like I mentioned, you can make content about your whole entire process and everything that you do, but that might not be the wisest decision as a business owner for many reasons, obvious reasons, right? So just start with a small problem, right? Start with the smallest problem that you can solve for your ideal client that they can then solve. But what will happen once they solve that is they'll run into another problem, right? And this is kind of going into strategy and a little bit of theory here in terms of like how to actually make this happen and how to do it with a strategy. But just keep in mind, the simplest way to implement this is that there is always problems and there is always solutions, right? And every time you solve a problem, you find a solution, right? You have a solution for that problem, and that will reveal another problem down the road. So if you can create content that solves the initial problem that people have, so let's say you're a marketing agency and you want to get more clients for your clients that you market for, then the smallest problem that you could solve for your client is something like lead generation, right? If your business does not have any predictable way to generate leads right now, it's going to be pretty hard to scale that business and to be able to grow and to get more clients consistently and predictably. So if you can help your client figure out how to solve their lead generation issue, then what they'll find is after they solve that problem and they're generating leads, now they might run into the problem of, how do I get all these people booked on my schedule? Like, I have so many leads coming in on a consistent basis that I don't have a system to schedule all these leads and get all these people booked on the calls or booked on the consults to actually become clients. So that's a perfect example of solving one initial problem, and then clients will need your help in the long run to solve the rest of those problems. So if you are a business owner, if you are an entrepreneur, like I mentioned, and you want to get more sales from your content, the simplest way to do that is by shifting your focus from creating content that gets views only to content that actually builds trust and adds value to your audience.